You buy something, you take it home, and you naturally think it's yours. But as we're going to see today, the rules of the whole game have completely changed. We're unpacking the invisible, systemic shift in how we buy, use, and honestly lose the things we think we own. Okay, let's dive right in and pull the rug out with a super simple question. Do you actually own the car sitting in your driveway right now? Or are you just paying for access? Think about it. You go to the dealership, sign the unlist paperwork, hand over a massive chunk of money, and drive it home. Historically, that hunk of metal was yours to tweak, repair, or literally drive into the ground. But today, the digital technology baked into your car tells a very, very different story. To highlight how incredibly frustrating this is getting, let's talk about automakers like BMW and Mercedes. They're actually charging monthly subscriptions for hardware features like heated seats that are already physically installed in your car. The cost of those seats? You already paid for it in the retail price. The hardware is literally right underneath you, but the manufacturer uses software to artificially disable it, basically demanding a monthly ransom just to turn the heat back on. It's wild. Section 1. The illusion of ownership. Peeling back the layers of digital property. Section 2. From products to services. The systemic shift in modern commerce. So this irreversible shift is mapped out brilliantly in the book The End of Ownership by Aaron Przezinski and Jason Schultz. And drawing on a really comprehensive review of it by Han Rong, we can see exactly how intellectual property holders are using tech to fundamentally redefine our rights. See, we used to buy products that held real, tangible value. Now, a lot of these products are basically Trojan horses for continuous subscription fees and constant data collection. Let's contrast this. Think about the Gutenberg era. You bought a physical book or a vinyl record, and it was yours. Done deal. The cost to reproduce those physical copies was high. You needed factories, materials, distribution. But today, in the digital era, making a copy costs absolutely nothing. And because copyright holders couldn't easily stop unauthorized digital copying anymore, they came up with a massive countermeasure. They just stopped selling you copies altogether. Now, they sell you a license. And this creeping phenomenon didn't happen overnight. Just look at this timeline. It started back in the 80s, when licenses were just used to control basic software installations. Then in the 2000s, it swallowed up our digital books and music. Next came the 2010s with the Internet of Things, your smart wearables, your connected appliances. And here we are in the 2020s, where the literal physical hardware of your vehicle is locked behind software firewalls. Section 3. The mechanics of control. The invisible fences of the digital economy. And that brings us to the enforcer, DRM, or Digital Rights Management. This is essentially a digital padlock. It dictates exactly how, when, and where you're allowed to interact with your digital property. It's so important to realize that DRM goes way beyond just stopping piracy. It actively engineers your experience. It forces software to only run on highly specific hardware, creating these isolated, walled gardens. Ultimately, it gives the IP holder remote control over the physical goods sitting right there in your living room. The real-world consequences of this are, frankly, absurd. Take the car brand W Motor back in late 2023. The company goes bankrupt, their servers go offline, and literally overnight, owners are left with bricked cars. Well, essentially bricked. No Bluetooth, no remote controls, nothing. Or look at public libraries. Publishers like HarperCollins are forcing library ebooks to actually self-destruct after exactly 26 checkouts. Oh, and privacy? Forget about it. Licensed software from companies like Adobe can now track exactly which pages you read and for exactly how long. The network remembers everything. Section 4. The legal lockdown. How contracts and laws enable control. So how do they actually get away with this? Enter the EULA, the End User License Agreement. You know exactly what this is. It's that dense, gigantic wall of text you blindly accept just so you can turn on a new device. You click I agree because, well, you have zero choice if you want to use the thing. But buried in that legal jargon is the stark reality that you haven't bought anything. You have merely licensed it, and they reserve the right to alter, delete, or completely terminate that service whenever they please. This whole setup creates what author Cory Doctorow famously calls a felony contempt of business model. We have laws like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA, that heavily protect the IP holders. Because of the DMCA, in the US, if you attempt to hack your own car just to turn on the heated seats you already bought, you aren't just voiding a warranty, you are potentially committing a federal crime by circumventing that DRM. Think about that. The law has actually elevated a tech company's commercial preference into an enforceable legal right. Section 5. Reclaiming personal autonomy. The philosophical cost of renting life. Now, this goes way, way deeper than just a standard consumer rights complaint. The philosopher Hegel reminds us that our connection to traditional property is deeply tied to our personal autonomy and our comprehensive development as human beings. The endowment effect proves this, right? We value things more simply because they are ours. They become extensions of who we are. But when those items are managed remotely by a faceless corporation, that intimate personal connection is completely severed. If we look at this through Jean-Paul Sartre's lens, we see how this current alienation between us and our restricted digital things inevitably leads to a much broader alienation from the world, and honestly, from ourselves. If we don't have true autonomy over the items in our daily lives, if we are constantly at the mercy of arbitrary server shutdowns, random subscription hikes, and unread legal agreements, we lose the capacity to fully direct our own lives. We stop being owners and become mere targets of the market. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought. If we are only renting our products like temporary visitors, can we ever throw ourselves wholeheartedly into our lives? Will we begin to treat our own existence and the world around us with the detached apathy of a mere passerby? It is absolutely crucial that we maintain a clear-eyed understanding of digital technology and actively fight to preserve our independent personalities. The end of ownership might be upon us, but what we do next, well, that's entirely up to us. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.